Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Health Made Simple Show. I'm your host, Dr. Bart, and today we're going to talk about some what I call the clinical insights. It'll be a clinical insight episode here. If you're not familiar with the clinical insights, what it means is that I'm going to go through, today there'll be either 3 or 4 time-dependent here cases that I go through, not the whole case, but just the highlights of these different situations or scenarios or really patient interactions that I have through the course of the week, whether it's virtual or it's in my brick and mortar practice, that I think would be relevant to everybody. Some of these things, sometimes they seem fundamental, and yet, we're all on a little bit of a different health journey. So they always kind of land in a different spot. And some of these will be the ones that need to hit home for you. So I'm giving you some real life stuff here, and we'll just dive right in. So again, keep doing the thing, folks. Appreciate everything that you guys are doing to keep sharing out, keep spreading love. We're getting more eyes. We're getting more traction. We're helping more people. And that's the whole goal of this. More input, more conversations about health, about getting to the spot of, you know what, health is actually simple. And this is, again, if you're new to the Health Made Simple Show, I'm going to give you my 60-second elevator pitches, and it's this: that health is simple. I'm not saying that it's easy, but health is simple. We were created in such a way in the eyes of perfection that as long as we don't interfere, most likely we're going to have an exorbitant amount of energy and health through the course of our lives, which means this: that the power that made the body heals the body. And it really doesn't happen any other way, meaning from above down and from the inside out. And our job, quite frankly, is real simple. Don't put toxins in our body. And if we have deficiencies, clear them up. And if you do those two things, you're going to be fine collectively. Remember, health is simple. And I want to bring you back to that because I know sometimes with all the information out there, sometimes it can get a little confusing or a little bit overwhelming. You don't know where to start. So here's where our Health Made Simple Show. Appreciate it. Love you guys. Let's get rolling here. First one I want to share with you. This is a patient I had in my office the other day. Is a teenage female girl, young girl in school. And she started lifting weights this past year. And of course, with lifting weights, and I love the idea. I love that more and more young women, older women are lifting weights. I absolutely love it. I think it's the best thing ever. It's my favorite trend that's taking place right now, and I hope that it sticks forever. So I, just like anyone else that walks in, I typically will ask my patients when I see them in my brick and mortar practice, how you doing? Are you taking care of yourself? How you moving? How you eating? How you thinking? Specifically with her, I ask her and talk to her about her diet. Why would I do that? Because I want to make sure that she fully understands that if she's weightlifting, that we probably need to be very specific with our nutrients, meaning we need more protein. And I'm encouraging her the best I can to have animal proteins. Now, that being said, I am asking because I want to hear so I can better serve her. And this is exactly how it goes. How's your diet? It's going really good. I'm almost eliminating completely red meat. I'm sticking to just lean white meat, and I'm only eating the egg whites. Now, that being said, you could imagine, well, if you've listened to this long enough, you probably imagine I was like, oh my goodness, and on the inside, where I almost couldn't say that, like, that's exactly what I don't want her to do. But this is an old concept, folks. So she's too young to have this concept. That means it was passed down. And that's the interesting thing about health, which is kind of funny sometimes. We pass down things and for no reason, not because they're good. They just keep on getting passed down. This is a classic example. Chicken breast, lean, no fats, no good cholesterols, and then egg whites. Folks, no, just absolutely no. And there's nothing wrong inherently with those foods. They're not toxic, but they're limited. And if we want, and I'm especially apply this to young cycling women in just a moment here, but if we're lifting weights, one, we never want to interfere with nature, meaning do not separate the yolk from the egg white. The yolk has all the beautiful things like the B vitamins, the choline for the brain, the good fats, all of these things. There's so, especially if you're like trying to make a baby or something, that is like the perfect baby brain making food is an egg yolk. The egg white has all the egg proteins in it, but you need the fat and protein. Everywhere in nature, you always find a fat and a protein together. There's no separation. You're not going to find either one of them just by themselves. There's always a combination of the two. So let's not violate nature's laws and separate the two. So the whole lean thing, that's not the route to go here. Now, with that being said, am I saying all this to the young girl? No, I take bits and pieces, little bit by little bit. And I would encourage you too. So if you're trying to educate someone, don't just kind of vomit on them all the information. So little bit by little bit here was a conversation with her. The red meat was the one I started with. And the reason this is very important for my young women is, listen, if there's a deficiency that's going to happen, remember I said two things with health, toxicities and deficiencies. Let's assume her diet is clean. Then we got to make sure that we're not creating deficiencies. One of the most significant, most common deficiencies in young women is iron. What are the primary foods that you're going to find iron in for all of us? Number one, red meat. The other meats that are going to have it, so you can say spinach and stuff like that. It's just not that much iron. It's not going to be enough, and people don't eat that much spinach. No Popeyes walking around here. So there's going to be red meat is number one for iron, and number two and number three is dark meat chicken and dark meat turkey. And for the most part, I would say that most women, those are the three types of animal proteins that they avoid. So with that being said, if we can get a little smarter about all of this and make sure that we are eating accordingly for our lives, that's pretty important. And this young girl, so hopefully I've given her enough. We're planting seeds little bit by little bit, and that way we make it sound easy. This conversation was just about eggs. Well, I said, wow, man, you're leaving out the best part. The B vitamins, where all the energy comes from. Why did I talk about that? Because I know that everyone wants a little bit more energy. But that all happens in the yolk. So she's like, yeah, so it's not bad, it's not cholesterol. I said, no. In fact, you need those cholesterols in order to make your hormones. And if you stick to this lean, white-only meat, no cholesterol, egg type thing, you're going to end up over time with a deficiency, aka an imbalance in your hormones, because you don't have the building blocks, which are cholesterol. So that was clinical insight number one. Let that land where it is. And I'm going to add one more thing to this. If you're out there and you're a young female and you're wondering if you have deficiencies or iron deficiency, folks, if you're walking around tired, maybe you're losing hair, you think it's your hormones and all this other stuff, more often than not, there's most cycling women. I'm saying young. I don't care if you're 12 or you're 52 and you're still cycling. Most women who are still cycling are borderline anemic, if not anemic. They're going to have issues with B12 and all the above. And it's so simple to test this. Imagine if you took a test and you knew. And I'm talking about a test. You run a CBC with iron, and that would probably cost you, I don't know, it's under $100. And in that moment, you will find out if you're borderline anemic. And then you just get with someone like myself or some provider and the strategies to go about taking care of that. I'm absolutely not recommending big fat iron pills that kind of create all the different problems, but there's very strategic ways. And I'll tell you the strategic way, number one, make sure you're eating the food that has those things in it, which means red meat, dark meat chicken, dark meat turkey. All right, that's clinical insight number one. Let's go on to number two. This is very interesting. This is a scenario where the same verbiage happened in two different cases. And the verbiage was this: Doc, I'm doing everything right. Why is this happening? Almost verbatim. One was a male, one was a female. One was about back pain and one was about losing weight. But the reason I'm sharing this particular clinical insight with you is because when I hear these words, Doc, I'm doing everything right, immediately I'm thinking to myself, uh-oh. They have this invisible ceiling that's taking place. And the moment I hear that, two things come to mind. The first is this: we got to change the question. Instead of like, why is this happening? We have to start asking different questions. The question you want to change. So if you're using the verbiage, why is this happening to me? I'm doing everything right. The first thing we want to do is change the verbiage. We want to make sure that we're asking the right questions, which is, it's going to start with, what else can I do? Humble up for a moment instead of getting mad, because that almost comes from a frustration and an anger. Instead of saying, I'm doing everything right away, I know there's already a defense mechanism in there. And this is where a lot of the practitioners listen to this. You'll know, you'll be able to rewind this in your brains, because you hear your patients say that, you hear your clients say that, and then you make some suggestions and they say, well, I do that. I did that. I tried that. I did that. I tried that. And if that's you, just listen, pause for a moment. What I'm going to tell you to do is back up a little bit. And the question needs to be, what else can I do? The second part of this is this, and this is the humbling part of it. If you find yourself or any of your clients ever saying those words, I'm doing everything out, I'm doing everything right, why is this happening? Some kind of phrase like that. What it also means is that their knowledge of their body and of human anatomy and physiology is still limited. That they think that it's black and white. And it's not. Health is simple. We are healing machines, no doubt. Yet it is not a black and white scenario. When I say that, it means that in order to be healthy, it's a relentless pursuit. I did not say easy, right? It's a relentless pursuit. And that pursuit is for moving better, it is for eating better, and it is for thinking better. And what your pursuit is to try to outrun things like aging, stress, poor diet, and history. You hear some weird noise in the back. That's my dogs. And history. What do I mean by history? A lot of people have like musculoskeletal issues. They have chronic low back pains and it keeps coming back. The challenge is they'll be like, yeah, I went to the chiropractor. I got my massage. I went to my physical therapist. I did the Pilates class. Why is my back pain still here? Well, you still sit down 8 hours a day. No, I don't. Okay, well, you still drive your car. Well, I have to. So sometimes we argue with reality. And what I would tell you is that if you think in your mind and be like, oh, I don't understand, or you're starting to get frustrated that you're doing all the right things, but it's still not ending up the way that you want, you're still not losing the weight, know this, that that is your invisible ceiling. There's still so much more you can learn. There's so much more you could adapt to. There's so much more that you could apply. But in your limited knowledge right now, it gets frustrating because in your limited knowledge and behavior sets, you're doing everything you can. So kudos to you. Like hats off to you for using effort and energy and all of those things that it takes to get this far with your health. But if you're still running into a brick wall, I promise you, there's more you don't know. There's more options for you. Now it's time to take this the right way. It's time to humble up and go seek out some additional support, some additional help, some additional knowledge, some additional education, some tools, tactics. Hey, listen, maybe you need to meditate. Maybe you need to slow it down a little bit. Maybe you need to put the pause on and listen to your body. Maybe your body has been telling you exactly what it needs, but you don't like that message, so you ignore it. And then eventually it gives you the middle finger and sends it. And then it says, and then take that, my friend. If you don't want to listen, and I'll tell you, I'm not even joking. That's pretty much how it goes. People sitting at their desks, their neck is like tight and sore, but we still grind it out. We stay at our desks like no big deal. I'm just going to wiggle my shoulder this way, wiggle this way. When your body's begging you to get up and out of your desk, begging you, saying, I'm uncomfortable. I'm sending you pain signals on the left and on the right. And you don't do it. You don't change up your ways. You keep doing them. And then all of a sudden, one day you just move a little bit to the left and you get a neck kink or whatever this may be. That's your body's way of sending you signals prior. You just refuse to listen to it. So I know this might sound like I'm kind of like, I don't know, like scolding you a little bit. I'm not scolding you, but at the same time I am, because we see this, every practitioner who listen to this can attest to this, that we hear this all the time. And the truth is that your body does not lie. It is always talking to you, always talking to you. But sometimes you tell it to shut up. Sometimes you take a pain reliever. And that's a flat out way that's one way. It doesn't remember. I don't care why you take them. But when you take a pain reliever, you're telling your body to shut up. When you're taking an antacid, you're telling your body to shut up. When you're taking aspirin, you're telling your body to shut up. When you're taking any drug, medication, any of that, you're telling your body to shut up. Now you have to expect that there's going to be consequences for messing with this innate intelligence, for messing with this thing, that this power that made the body, that does heal the body. You don't always like the messages, but your body never lies. So if you hear yourself or anyone else saying that, I'm doing everything, why is this still happening? Keep in mind, one, we got to change the question. And the question needs, instead of like why, into a what else can I do? And then the second part is learn more about your body. Learn more about how your body talks to you. It's never lying. Sometimes it does get mad. And when you don't listen, it has to get more extreme. And that's when you feel more extreme symptoms. All right. That was number 2. Let's keep cranking here so we can get into 3. Maybe we get to 4 today. We'll see. This next one's random. This is going to be a quick one. This is kind of cool. And this one I'm going to share with you just with the insights of just reminding everybody. The body is a self-healing mechanism. It was designed that way. So, and what I mean by this is simple fundamentals here. You cut your arm, you do nothing, right? You don't have to like call anybody. You don't have to look up anything. You don't have to take anything magical. Your body knows how to heal it. Truth is, it knows how to heal things all day, every day long. The challenge is if we become toxic, we interfere with the pathways. Like, for example, your brain may not be able to talk to certain parts of your body because you're too inflamed. You may have toxicities that shut down or block receptors. So maybe you can't, your hormones aren't going to be working. When we start blocking receptors, we inhibit more absorption of nutrients and vitamins and minerals. Now we create more toxicities and more deficiencies. So those two things right there, becoming toxic, putting things in your body, like, well, doc, I don't I don't have any toxins in my life. Yeah, you do. If you drink alcohol, toxicities. Listen, even just in this world today, there's toxins. There's toxins everywhere. There's toxins in our air. I don't know. Heck, call me conspiracy theory, but sometimes I think there's these little stripes in the air, right? And there's like things going on. They're dumping chemicals in our air. They're in our water. They're spraying them on our lawns. There's chemicals everywhere, folks. So there's a lot of toxicities happening. And that's also one of the reasons that a lot of our health conditions are unexplained. We don't always know the exact black and white reason why, but it always does boil down to those two things. Are you toxic? And are you deficient? And either one may be the case here. So this one's kind of random. Young lady comes in, I think she's in her 40s, maybe in her 50s. Probably second or third visit with me as a chiropractic patient. And we're also working on some gut issues. So fundamentals, we're talking starting the beginning. I'm very specifically using, I know what we're using here. I'm using a digestive enzyme, which is something I use called Zypan to help break your food down better. It also helps kill off like bacteria and stuff like that. It's a protecting part of your immune system for your gut and for your overall body. But a digestive enzyme to help you absorb your food better. Certainly after, we get into about our 30s or 40s, we break our food down less efficiently. So big advocate of digestive enzymes. So all I have around is a digestive enzyme, and then another gut product, which is becoming one of my favorite ones, called Biofilm Pro Balance. And the reason I'm sharing that with you, because that particular one has a little bit of probiotics in it, and then it really helps slough off the bad biofilm, and that's where all the bad guys in the gut live, where the white blood cells can't get to them. So if you have like these chronic things going on in your body, I don't care if it's like whether it be autoimmune issues or viruses or just things that keep showing up long COVID, a lot of times it's sitting in that biofilm. So I have her on two products, a digestive enzyme and a kind of low grade probiotic with something that's going to pull out the biofilm. So those are the only things I have her on in terms of nutrients. And then I also adjusted her 2-3 times. And just a quick reminder, if you've never been adjusted, yes, it's for musculoskeletal stuff. I forget what she's even in there for, neck pain or back pain. I adjust her entire spine. We take a look at everything, make sure we remove all the interferences. That's the key here. Remove the interferences. This is why I'm telling you all of this. She comes in on a third visit and says, you know what's so cool about our visit? Remember that bald spot I showed you in the back of my head? I said, yeah, that dot. She said, because she mentioned it to me. It was like the size of a little smaller than the size of a quarter. She's like, my hair's growing back. So I kind of chuckled. I'm like, what do you mean your hair's growing back? She's like, yeah. Well, ever since I started getting adjusted, started taking those supplements, my hair's growing back. I said, all right, that's cool. She's like, you don't understand. I've had that for 30 years. So sometimes by just doing the right things, we are improving things that we don't even know. So the impact that we're having by changing up our diet, by getting a chiropractic adjustment, getting pressure off of your nervous system, I'm pretty convinced. Now that I think about it, I remember talking to her about like some of the misalignments she had in her cervical spine. I don't even know if she had pain in her neck, but the misalignments that she had, and she had like chronic headaches and stuff, the misalignments that she had in her cervical spine, especially between the C1 and occiput, and we made adjustments there to take pressure off of those nerves to restore normal function back into the cranial nerves, all that good stuff. My guess is that's part of it. Could it be part of the probiotics? And it could be, right? So that's if she was deficient in probiotics, would she have a hard time growing certain things? Probably, yes. So that being said, just a reminder, the body's a self-healing, self-regulating mechanism. It's super powerful. All healing comes from above down, from the inside out. And if we give it a chance, we remove the toxicities and we remove the interferences, our bodies are amazing. So never give up on them. 30 years having a bald spot in the back of her head. And it wasn't completely gone, obviously. It was like little hairs growing. It was fascinating, though. She'd never had that in 30 years. So really good. All right, I'm going to cruise through one more, and we're going to make this one really quick. I got a little time here. All right, last one, not least. And this is kind of a big one, so I'm glad we got to it. And this one, this gentleman comes into my office, and we're having a conversation. I see him anywhere from every 2 months to about 6 months in my brick and mortar. And he has a conversation about a buddy of his that passed that we both knew. And he had some questions about it. He said, Doc, how does that happen? And we got into a pretty deep conversation. And I explained to him this. And I said, I think part of how it happens is this, because it was a scenario. It was a healthy guy. He just didn't think he would pass away. But it led to us to a bigger and better conversation that I want to share with you guys today. This is for all the men out there, especially my alpha dogs. And if you have a husband out there, a father, a brother or something like that, and they're an alpha dog, meaning this, that, they're a leader. They're in charge of what they do. And here's what happens. And this across the board. No one holds them accountable, not for their weight, not for their ability to move their body, their range of motion, their flexibility. No one holds them accountable for their strength year in and year out, their stamina, their waistline, none of it. No one holds them accountable. Today's doctors, when you go to the doctor for your checkup, nobody talks to you about your weight. I don't even know if you hop on a scale. Most offices, you probably will not. I know for a fact your doctor's not checking your range of motion. How was it this year versus last year? And these are real things about health. The future of medicine, of, let's say, longevity and health medicine, you're going to see people talking about, how's your range of motion? Mine's awesome. Can you touch your toes? I can. So these are the things that are maybe more important than our lab work. And the alpha dogs out there have no accountability. And I told them, so, I've kind of got in the back of my mind always, all my alpha dogs in my practice, because they're also the ones who probably get the least amount of like care for their bodies, because they're always staying busy doing other things and they put themselves first. And sometimes they need someone in their lives to remind them, hey man, maybe take a little better care of yourself. So my friends in my life, my guys, know well that if I see them and they're gaining weight, I will give them shit. And they know I'm very competitive. And I'm going to tell you why I do it mostly. It's very selfish why I do it. Because I want people like my brother, I want people like my friends around me and in my life for a long period of time. We're not getting any younger. And I don't want them to be old men. I never want them to not be fun. I never want them to be like, no, I can't do that. My hip, my ankle, my knee, my shoulder, my belly, all that stuff. I don't want to ever hear that. And so when I see my friends, and all my patients who are guys, I speak quite frankly with them at this point in my career. I didn't years ago because I thought it would offend them and may not like me. But I will tell you what, more and more I find the guys can appreciate it because nobody holds them accountable. For everyone listening to this, I want you to ask yourself a question, because when I brought this up with my team, which I often do, they said, man, this isn't just for guys. This is for everybody. So I'm going to ask you right now, is there anyone in your life that has permission and will hold you accountable for your health, for your weight, for your diet, for your strength, for your stamina, for how you move your body, how flexible you are? And will they accept your excuses? Or can they, from a place of love, encourage you? And maybe the encouragement. So I want you to do two things. One, ask yourself, do you have someone in your life that's doing for you this right now? And it's okay if the answer is no. It's not okay, but I understand that because it's very common that answer is going to be no. One, it's your job and your responsibility to give it to someone. I'm going to encourage you not to make it your spouse. It's just not fair. They need to be they don't need to be our gatekeepers when it comes to our health. We should be doing everything we're doing for them, but don't make it necessarily their responsibility to keep track of us. So if you're waiting for your wife to figure out that you're fat, she already knows. If you've gained 20 pounds since you got married, she knows. She doesn't love it. She loves you, but she doesn't love it. She loves that version of you that is the best version of you, the most confident version of you, the healthiest, the strongest, the fittest, all of those things. And I'm not trying to make this all about aesthetics. I'm trying to make this real, because the version of you that takes the time out to do things like exercise, to do hard stuff like yoga. Lifting weights for guys is easy. Yoga is hard. But to do those things, because they're hard anyways, do them anyways, because you know that you'll be a better dad, maybe a better grandfather, you'll be able to hang out with people better, just all the above. If that is you and you have a no to that answer, then your responsibility is to let someone know. Maybe find somebody, a good friend of yours, and say, listen, we need to hold each other accountable. People ask me all the time, Doc, who holds you accountable? And I will tell you this, don't have a lot of people in my life that hold me accountable. And then my friends, when we see each other, we hold each other accountable. My jiu-jitsu buddy, my jiu-jitsu coach is always asking me, when you get back on the mats, Bart, always, all the time. I love that type of accountability. And I don't find it as it's pushy or edgy, because he wants me back on the mats. He wants my company, and he also wants me to be the best version of myself. And those around me know that I'm at the best when I'm physically fit, when I'm mentally fit, when I'm mentally strong. And I'll tell you the other little secret I use my labs. The labs don't lie. I do a lot of lab running of my own body. So I probably run them more than most people, more than most of you that I recommend, because it's part of my accountability. Labs often will be an eye opener for a lot of my alpha dogs out there, because the labs often don't look good, because why would they look good? Most of your good habits have gone away. Right. So this clinical insight was really more about a common observation that I see, that alpha dogs, my men out there, don't have any accountability, and therefore their health is very, very predictable. And again, I tell you, almost selfishly, the reason I hold some of my friends accountable and I'm always talking about their health, not only am I competitive, but I want them to be around for a long period of time. So if there's someone in your life that is, headed in the wrong direction, figure it out. Figure out how they can have some accountability, or be that accountable person for them. And it comes from love, not from blame or shame. All right. So a couple clinical insights here today. Some of the things that we probably learned. One, let's not just eat the egg whites, right? We want to get the whole thing going on. Then we want to get the yolks. We want to make sure we don't separate nature from itself. If we are lifting weights, especially young girls, we got to get some iron in our bodies. Make sure you got plenty of good proteins there. Don't ever be surprised what the body can do when it comes to healing. Body's self-healing mechanism. Even if you have issues for 30 plus years, like a bald spot in the back of your head, and all of a sudden you start treating your body better, and all of a sudden you start feeding it better, maybe, just maybe, those things can clear up. Who knows? When you're just doing good things tend to happen, which is pretty cool. And then the other one that we talked about was, if you hear yourself or anyone else saying things, hey man, I do it all the time, I'm doing the right things, I tried that, I'm done that, gotta pause. And then the question is isn't why isn't this working? Rather is, what else can I do? And then also a pause, and maybe getting a little humble and starting to think about the idea of, maybe I need to elevate my education. Maybe I need to elevate the conversations that I'm having about health. Maybe I need to find some additional ways. All right. With that being said, folks, keep doing the thing. Keep sharing it out. Keep spreading love. And of course, keep taking deliberate action for your mind, your body, overall wellness. You gotta be awesome.